this morning we'll be talking about securing the future when it has to do with finances on children and investments. And we have Erie Onogorora. She's here with us this morning. She is a financial literacy expert, an author, and a public speaker. Erie is a multi-skilled professional with about 2 decades of post-graduation experience in the energy industry. She's super skilled, and she'll be breaking down this conversation with us this morning. Good morning, Erie.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Wonderful to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you so much, Adi. Thank you.
All right. So, before we delve into the comments that we started this morning, I need to ask you, what do you think is more important when it has to do with investment? I'm talking about parents now. Is it money or time to the children?
Very interesting question. I would say there has to be a balance. Okay. I think it would be unfair to prioritize one over the other, even though I would say as you grow and you probably have more money, that invariably means you have more time to spend with the kids. So you could also answer in this way that as you grow and you have more money, then you can prioritize time over making more money, but there has to be a balance at some point, and then as you grow, your priorities dictate what you want to have. It will dictate what you want to have, if it's more money or more time with the kids.
Okay.
All right.
I know that when we started the conversation, we were also talking about balance. Because at the end of the day, if you decide that you want to give more time than money, then what would the child eat?
Exactly.
I don't know. How would you pay school fees and everything? But of course, I did ask an interesting question that put me in a tricky situation about the value.
Yeah, okay. So the question is, what is more important, time or money? So I feel like if we change the word important to valuable, it somehow changes the dynamics of the conversation. So what do you think is more valuable in the investment of a child, the time or money? What is more valuable?
Again, I will still say, because both attract value. Yeah, you need that money to even create the value that you want your child to have. You need the time to let your child understand. Okay, this is why you need this. This is why I'm here. So it has to be a healthy balance. But you have to make sure none of them necessarily suffer at the expense of another.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. All right. So we actually asked some of our viewers this particular question, and we got some interesting comments and views from the net, which we're going to have a look at this morning. So the next one we're having a look at is Olamilekan from Ibadan. Olamilekan is saying, I'd say time is more important, but imagine supporting that time with money, not necessarily giving the child the money to spend, but helping the child sow that money in a long-term investment that would prove to be useful when the child finally comes of age. As the parents spend time with the child, guiding the child on the right path to life, which is very important, there's also the money aspect where the parents help the child save some of his daily allowance in some kind of bank investments that is not to be touched till the child is maybe 18 years or so. For example, if the child is meant to take 15 naira to school daily, the parents can save 20 naira from that and give the child 30 naira to spend. After a number of years, the child now has enough to start up his own path and venture into that which he has learned from his parents. I think this comment allows us to dive into the conversation we want to have with you this morning, and that is the financial investment in securing the future of a child. And I want us to start from analyzing this particular, should I say, basic form of investment, right? So this person is saying, Olamilekan is saying that, let's say you give your child 15 naira to school every day. So instead of giving the child the whole 15 naira, maybe the parents should save 20 naira from the allowance of the child, so that the child is essentially spending all the allowance later in life. So a form of investment that is building over time. What is your take on that?
So first, I will say it's a very interesting way to look at things. The only thing I was going through my head as I heard that was is the parent also taking time to explain to the child, this is what I'm doing with the 20 naira, this is what is going to yield, and does the child understand that financial discipline connected with that action? But then again, on the flip side, I said to myself, okay, so you give a child 15 naira, and the child already has told you that this 15 naira will buy meat pie, and and then with inflation, you go to school, and maybe the 15 naira is not enough. So is it a case of you, the parent, having to do more, in the sense that, okay, you leave the child even with the 15 naira, and you on your own, you have monies for the child in another account, yeah. So so you can look at it both ways.
Okay.
It can be that parent wants to teach the child discipline, wants to teach the child what it means to be financially independent, what it means to actually value money, yeah. And then it could also be that that's a plan A, and then the plan B is also for the parent to take another income and put it somewhere else for the child.
Yeah. So you're basically saying that with investments into a child also comes some form of financial literacy that this child is supposed to be equipped with from the part of the parents, essentially.
Yes. Right? It's very important from an early age. So let me say this. Children, they learn more from what they see parents doing as opposed to what they hear them saying. So if you inculcate in your child that financial literacy, you spend time to explain the value of money, the value of working, the value of investing, even from an early age, the child understands. He sees there's an importance in every money that comes his or her way. Yeah? So you have to do both. You have to save for the child, but you also have to educate the child, because you can save, and then when the child is 18, he takes the money and finishes it. But when he understands why my parents were saving, when he understands the value of money, he has a different perspective to that money that has been saved.
That's interesting.
Okay, I mean, I would like to ask, what age should this education start? But before I do that, I'll get into the comments. This next comment we have from Mr. Ayomide from the UK. So Mr. Ayomide is saying both are important, but money is actually more important. Time doesn't pay the bills, and the needs of a child have to be met as at when due. To make this easier, parental roles should be shared between the parents, because a child needs both time and money, resources for adequate growth and development. Pre-existing status quo devoid of patriarchy and feminism sentiments presents women as the caregivers, so they are in the best position to provide the time aspect of investment of a child, while men are generally regarded as the resources provider, so they are responsible for the money aspect of investing on their children. Despite that times are changing and this is affecting the natural parental roles in the home, we can only try to bridge the gap and switch roles intermittently as a result of what is obtainable in the home at the time. This is an interesting comment.
Very. I liked it.
Interesting comment on how this can be broken down, because I mean the truth is, at the moment, parental roles are not specific. And I know we've had this conversation before. There are times whereby we probably grew up with the mom being the caregiver and the dad the one getting out there to get money for everybody to live well. However, things are changing. In fact, sometimes you'd find homes where both of them are the ones doing the bits just to make things work, or you'd find probably the dad working remotely at home.
And he's a caregiver.
And he's also a caregiver while the mom is traveling and all of that. And I mean, what do you think about this?
So as I listened, I said, okay, I was going to share my story. So I worked in an energy company for around about 15 years. In the 5th year, we moved from Lagos to Abuja. But my family was here. My husband and my kids were here. Well, then I had one. So we moved, and I shuttled from 2009 to 2019 every weekend, Friday and Monday, and sometimes in between. In fact, I had my second child in the shuttling, so I shuttled with her until she was round about 1, took her back to Lagos, and I kept shuttling Friday, Monday, sometimes maybe a meeting, Tuesday, Wednesday, back Thursday, go back Friday. Even when Abuja airport was closed, I would drive to Kaduna, take the plane, come back. Why am I saying this? My husband was here. Yeah, so he was the time factor there. So he provided the time that they needed. He provided the money, but he was more, he was at home. So I was in Abuja, yeah. And then I'll come back weekends. I will spend time with them. But the point is, I had to do that at that point. But somebody had to also be there to look after them in terms of timing, in terms of their assignment. In fact, even till now, they are more comfortable with their dad doing the assignments. They're like, Mom, I'm not sure you really know how to handle this, because he was there. So it's important, yes, that that parental role is understood by the husband and the wife as friends first, and that's easier when your spouse is your friend and understanding and wants to help you succeed. Both of you have to understand the roles you play, bringing that financial stability and also that stability that is needed in the house.
Yeah. Okay, that's very nice. All right, so the next comments we're looking at this morning is Olumide from Lagos. Olumide is saying, honestly, both are very important, but if I were to choose, I'd pick time. I lost my dad a while back. For example, he left 3 million for me before he died in this time and age, particularly with the fact that Naira holds no value currently. Such money holds no value. People would always make money considering money comes from the value you can offer at a particular job or skill. Basically, parents who spend time with their children provide them with a good value system that would at some point be useful for the children, even when their parents are no more. I feel like you just can't put a price tag to the quality of time that a parent spends with his or her child. Money, on the other hand, can lose its value at some point. If you lose the opportunity to tap into the love, knowledge, experience that your parents can offer, that your parents can offer you, then that's a big loss. I've seen the results of children whose parents never had time for them. They grew up to be cold to everyone, and you can tell something vital was missing from their childhood. I've never seen children who had all the time, care, and attention of their parents, and they grew to be wonderful. So for me, time is more important investment than money in the life of a child. Now, considering that you are a financial literacy expert and you're also a parent, taking this comment into consideration, weighing between that's why I asked that question of value. But I love what you said, that money, that they are actually both valuable in their own respects. But now let's bring it into the foray of this particular comments. Considering that you are a parent and a financial literacy expert, I love how you've just narrated your brief experience, with navigating the domestic space when it comes to who's giving the time and, considering the situation of the job at the moment. So, in a situation where maybe the family are not able to prefer a lot of financial, assistance to these children, doesn't that make, time almost more valuable in many ways than money?
So again, as I was listening to Olumide, I found it difficult to fault anything he said. Yeah. The only thing I was thinking about was, you have to consciously make that time, and in conjunction with that time, make that money, because so if you have time for your kids, again, is a shared responsibility. It can't be one person, yeah? It has to be shared. It has to be shared between both parents. Where one parent is not able to offer that financial assistance, you're also sending a wrong signal to the child. What you're trying to, because there has to be, like he said, so value, the money you get is as a result of the value that you can offer. So there always has to be something in you that can bring money. Yeah, so COVID has taught taught us you can work from home, you can be remote and actually make money. So there are two things that should happen. A parent should never lose sight of the fact that he or she, they both need that bonding time with the family, and they both need the resources to make that happen. It's very important that it is seen as a shared responsibility. It is seen as a balancing act, and it requires a lot of sacrifice on parents. Weekends, like when I'll come back from Abuja, I went nowhere. No parties, no weddings. I did nothing. I stayed indoors with my kids. And even now, it's very difficult for me to want to go out weekends. I just want to stay with them. Again, I must say that with time, let's normalize quality over quantity. So if I spend 2 hours of quality time with my kids and I go out to make money, I have to be sure that I've inculcated value in them in those 2 hours. So there's always a balancing act, but it has to be done. Sometimes when my kids come back and they tell me things that have happened, and the first thing I ask is, where are their parents? I say, are their parents working? And they're like, oh, they hardly see their parents. All their parents are working. Oh, they hardly see their parents. The parents are not here. No. There has to be a balancing, and it has to be a shared responsibility between both parents.
Okay. All right. I mean, I like how you have said that, because, some parents find it really, especially the example that you've given about, where the parents are not. Some parents find it really, really difficult to balance that time factor, especially if they both have well-paying jobs and jobs that is time-consuming.
So I want, what is investment, and why is it important to invest into the future of a child?
Okay, thank you for that question. So I'd like to first of all try and describe investment, because many times you hear the word, sometimes loosely, and then sometimes in very strict financial terms. It's difficult for people to understand. But I'll tell you the key ingredients you must always have in mind with investment. I'll liken it to a seed, and say that your money is a seed. And you have a seed you plant into the ground. You water that seed. There's harvest time. There is that time factor. You don't put the seed in the ground and the next day the orange starts sprouting or the mango starts coming out. There is that time factor. There's that future expectation that this seed I have planted in the ground will yield and harvest. So investment is the process, that action that you take either with money or with property, with the expectation that in future you would realize profit. But the key thing to understand with investment is that time factor. So that's why a lot of people always advise, don't go into quick, money, rich get schemes. It's not investment. There has to be that time factor in investment.
Okay. I mean, I like that you talked about the time factor in investments, but now we're talking about children. I mean, a 5-year-old may not totally understand the importance of investments. All the child wants to hear is, oh, mommy, give me money. Let me take it. And then mom is trying to say, oh, I want to remove 10 naira and keep for you and all of that. Like, how do you make this make sense to them?
So I started talking to my children about money from a very, very early age, even when I'm sure they didn't understand what I was saying, but I kept at it, You don't spend money foolishly. You don't, money does not fall from trees. You save money so that when there's an emergency, you can, go and withdraw from what you have. So I had that conversation very early, and I kept at it with my kids. And I always encourage parents, but it's more important when they see it. So if they understand, for me, and I'll give you an example, anytime they have money, they know that mommy is going to put it in a bank for them. They understand that. I've actually even told one of them, go to the bank and do the deposit yourself. So you understand. So she was like, but the queue was so long. I said, yes. So that shows you that, you just don't spend it anyhow. Because when you work for something, you understand that it doesn't just fritter away. So they would always see that if uncle or auntie or grandma gives them money, just mommy is going to keep it in the bank for them, saving for them. I taught them about mutual funds. When you keep money here, there's an interest. When you put money here, there's an interest. So I started talking to them from a very early age, and I still have that conversations with them.
So it's important for parents essentially to begin to speak to their children about financial literacy. You know, Bolade asked a question that we actually fully haven't addressed. At what age is it? At what age does it begin to make sense?
Like, what age is the right time?
Yeah.
So with my kids, like I said, I was speaking with them, I don't know, 4 or 5, you know, I was telling them about money, and they will say that the apps that are the most open in mommy's phone is her GT Bank app, you know, so they always knew that, you know, I was cautious with the way I spent money, you know. They always knew if grandma gave them money, mommy was going to put it in the bank.
Yeah.
I explained to them that that's how I saw my parents grow, and they left something for me. I told them, you know, I will say just even stories, tell them about people who have misused money. Today you were rich, tomorrow you're not rich. So they start to understand, like, you know, the concept of money. Money is not, you just don't come to the house and say, Mommy, I need money because I saw somebody else, you know, buying something. I told them the value of contentment, you know. You're on your lane, stay on your lane and focus. Yeah, so I always have that conversation with my kids, always.
Okay. All right, so let's now get into the different kinds of investments that parents can actually secure for their children. So one example would be a trust fund, you know, where, you know, over time parents are putting a particular amount into a particular account where the child at a particular age will be able to gain access to. So what other forms of investments do we have, or are we even practicing in Nigeria?
Okay, so we have growth investments. We have, so growth investments are like your stocks, they're like properties. We have mutual funds. What are your mutual funds? So it's a pool of funds that is managed by a fund manager, and they put the money into different sectors of the economy. But I'll tell you from my own experience, if I were to say, what's the best time to start investing for your child? And I will say from the minute they come out from your womb. Because a lot of times what happens is a child is 12, 13, and the parents start saying, oh, my child is getting ready for secondary or getting ready for university, you know, or even when the child is about to enter university, that's when parents start saying, okay, oh, you're going to university, oh, I started from when my kids came out of my womb, literally. I went to open accounts for them, open mutual funds for them, and for me, investment, you have to be consistent and disciplined, and that's why a lot of people miss it. You're waiting for a lot of money to start investing. You can start with 20,000, you can start with 5,000, but there has to be that power of consistency that can help to compound the monies over time and get interest. You can put it in a fixed deposit. You can have even a dollar mutual fund account just because of the way the Naira is. So these are some of the investments that you can make for your child, but it's very important that you start early, start with the end in mind. And what's the end in mind? This child of mine is going to go to school, either secondary, university. Most parents want to take their child out of the country. By then, I mean, you should have an idea of how much these school fees are. Break it down into small bits and start saving towards it. Start putting funds aside every month.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, you said something about, you know, knowing all of these things, and I just realized that we can go on and on having this conversation about parents investing in the future of their children, but we have a lot of parents that don't even understand investment.
True.
We have parents that are not even investing in themselves. So how can you pass on knowledge that you don't have?
Oh my God,
Where can they even,
so true. Like, you know, I always used to think that everybody knew what I knew about financial literacy. Seriously, like, so then I was invited to First Bank West to give a talk, and then I was surprised at how everybody, like, people were asking questions, people were excited. So I said, oh, like, so people don't know much about this. I always took it for granted. And then when I would talk to my alma mater school, I would, you know, teach them, and the same response, people don't know much about this. So I started doing talk shows every month. And it's been amazing. I've had questions like, what do you mean by automated savings? What do you mean by what do you mean by mutual funds? Oh, is there a dollar mutual fund? So yes, so your question is so on point. Like, a lot of parents even need that education themselves. But let's even assume you don't have that basic education. At least learn to save, because truthfully, the first form of investment you can ever make is the savings. That gives you the discipline. So if you say, I want to save 200,000 every year for my kids, divide that by 12 and put it into a savings account, or put it into, an account with their name. At least that starts the process of savings. When you have understood that discipline or understood that savings, then you can start to ask, okay, how about the mutual funds? How about stocks? So, but there has to be that savings for a child, for a parent who is listening now and doesn't even know anything about investment. I would say start by saving. A lot of people downplay the effect of savings. A lot of people, I hear people say, have you ever heard a millionaire say he grew rich by saving? Hello, you start from somewhere. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I want there is the monetary kind of investment, which capitalizes over time. I want us to look at other forms of investment that are not particularly monetary. They are not particularly financial, quotes in quotes, and for example, real estate. So, for instance, there are parents who will buy a piece of land and for their child. Yeah. So when maybe the child is 21 or 25, you now have rights to use this land or whatever the case may be. Maybe for parents, for families that don't understand investment, is there a different way, using this kind of example, to sensitize them on the importance of investment?
Very good question again. And I like the example you use. Somebody has said land is really the only thing we meet in this world, and when we leave, we'll leave it there. So that underscores the importance of real estate, the importance of land. So yes, so even if you can't invest you can't put money aside, but you can buy land, you can fence the land, you can even start farming on the land. Especially as we're beginning to see that increase, that interest in agri sector in Nigeria. But you can never go wrong with real estate. So it's also a good idea for parents to invest in real estate. Although I would say with caution, when you're investing in real estate, there are three things that are very important: location, location, location. It makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Actually,
Before we let you go, I'd like that you throw one or two advice to parents out there, parents, guardians, as the case may be, what they should do immediately they've birthed their children, how they should go about it. And in fact, just to add to the conversation, what do you think is the best investment plan that they can have for their children?
So for parents, I will say the best time to invest in your child literally is when the child comes into the world. The second best time is now, after you've heard this, after you've been part of this show today, you're listening. The second best time is now, because they always say when you wake up is your morning. Your best investment plan is to have a diversified portfolio. When you're doing investment, there's some key things you should look at: the portfolio and diversification, so you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So for parents who want to invest, please have a savings plan for your child. Have automated savings. Have an account for your child that doesn't have an ATM, so you don't think that is your own account as well. So have that savings. Open a dollar mutual fund and a naira mutual fund for your child. If those are the things you can do, how much does it take to open a naira mutual fund? Some people charge as low as 2,000, some as 5,000. And you can just keep putting it away aside, but it's gaining interest. I like piggyvest.com because they encourage savings. You actually can save. You even have a lock account where you don't touch. So those are few few of the investment plans, as it were, that as a parent you can make for your child. But it's very important that you start early. The future will thank you for it, to be honest.
Thank you so much, Ere Onogoro, for joining us this morning.
Thank you
and
for
letting
having
us tap
me.
from your wealth of knowledge. You've heard the conversation on securing the future of children through investments. This conversation wouldn't stop here. Some other time we're going to keep developing it so that, you know, we can have more talk and experience on this conversation. If you are going to do real estate, as she has said, there are three things to consider: location, location, and location.